So, welcome to the podcast, James MacKenzie. James, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks, Rab. Thanks for having me on.
Ah, no problem at all. Well, if anything, we have you on the show for good reason. We've got a lot to talk about. You've been incredibly busy this last while.
Oh, yeah, just trying to stay busy and keep taking over, keeping music going and writing a few tunes and stuff like that. So
Indeed,
yeah,
aye. We'll get into that as the show unfolds. But I kind of want to catch up, really, because for listeners of the Big Rab Show that have been with us from the beginning, me and I first met back in Belfast. I don't know how many years ago. It was about 10, 11 years ago. You were over with Braybrach doing a gig.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it must have been close to 10 years ago now, maybe 8, 9 years
Easily.
ago, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So that was during a time when you were obviously still playing with Braybrach and doing gigs all over the world, really. Quite an exciting time, I suppose. Whenever I caught up with you guys, you were just talking about possibly releasing a star and stuff like that with Braybrach. So that kind of gives you a bit of a time scale on how long it's been since we've been chatting to you.
definitely.
So yeah, I don't know. With your time with Braybrach, obviously, I wanted to ask you about that dual bagpipe sound that you guys brought to Braybrach, and that from the outset, was that something that you had actively worked on? Did you really want to bring that voice to the music of Braybrach?
Yeah, definitely. Well, when I first joined the band had already been going for about 3 or 4 years, possibly 5 years.
Yeah.
Uh, so I was doing a lot of depth work with them at the time when I
Mm.
was in first year at uni. So I went on a couple of tours with them, and kind of I think a year later I was asked to, or a couple of years later, asked to join the band. So really just kind of jump at the opportunity to play with the guys. And
Yeah.
yeah, Callum McCrimmon, one of the original band members, great piper, a
Mm.
great friend of mine as well. And yeah, he they already had that kind of double Highland pipe thing
I
established.
see.
So I was kind
Okay.
of just walking into that, and I guess in the early days, just replicating what was there already. So it was great to have the two sets of Highland pipes in a band. I don't think it was really
Mm.
that common for a folk band at the time. There would be
No, no,
the odd set
exactly.
of Highland pipes here and there, obviously in folk bands, but to have the two sets really, it just opens up a whole new world of harmonies and arrangements
Exactly.
and all that kind of stuff. So from
Yeah.
that end of things, it's yeah, lots of opportunities.
Oh, definitely. And I have to say, you guys were kind of at that spearhead, really, of introducing piping to folk music and stuff during a time where there wasn't that much. So, what is your opinion now on looking at the wealth of bands now that employ bagpipes? It seems to be every band has a piper now.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's in a really healthy place, that the folk scene in general at the moment. I mean, there's just so much going on, or certainly before the last couple of years. Anyway, there's so much gigs and new bands coming up all the time, recording loads of great albums and music. And
Mm.
I think more and more now there's pipers are certainly in the folk scene are taking up kind of whistles and wooden flutes
Yeah.
and things like that as well, other
Mm.
instruments. So they're kind of broadening their horizons in that sense. I think education as well, like the RCS in Glasgow and uh,
Yes.
UHI, University of the Highlands and Islands, they've got some great folk music courses and things like that. So I think
Mm.
just a mixture of all these things, it's keeping it in a very healthy way at the moment.
Definitely. Oh, the scene has never been better, in my opinion. It's just going from strength to strength. So, after your time with Braybrack and everything, you've now moved on and got back into competitive piping. So, do you want to tell us about the time where you managed to lift up the silver medal?
Yeah, definitely. I was very fortunate to take the silver medal at the Northern Meetings in 2019.
Yeah.
So that was the most recent Northern Meetings there's been. So I'm still kind of waiting for a wee shot at the gold, but
There you go.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe this year, if they go ahead, I'll get a wee shot at the gold. But yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, I was always into the kind of solo piping competition thing,
Mm.
and that's really how I learned through that kind of uh, quite traditional army approach of teaching, and uh,
Yes.
went through the junior competitions and all that kind of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I used to be right into it and heavily involved in that side of things. And then I guess when I went to uni and started playing with a band, that took more of a back seat in many ways.
Yeah.
And then I think it was maybe 2018. I just took a notion. I was like, oh, I'll try and go around the games again, and just really loved getting out and about in the summer when we weren't away gigging and stuff. I would get out to the games most weekends and have a play, and just really enjoyed the whole social aspect of it as well. Just seeing
Yeah.
guys I used to and girls used to compete with maybe 10 years previous and hadn't seen them since. So it's really kind of catching up with lots of folk that I hadn't seen. So yeah, and also another kind of I think that same year, 2018, I bumped into my old piping tutor, Ian Morrison. So that was at the South US Games. He was on the judging bench, but I hadn't actually seen him in quite a number of years. So it was nice to kind of bump into him again. And after that, he encouraged me to come up to the house again for a few lessons. So it was great to get a few lessons with Ian again. And I guess these lessons were so valuable to me, especially now that he's since passed away. But yes, he took me through all the silver medal tunes, and it was a great honour to go back to see Ian for lessons, and just such a musical style and a musical player. And
Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm. So can I draw any comparison then from the Celtic and folk scene, where you're so free to do whatever you want, to the competitive scene where everything's really locked into, how technically proficient you can be? How do you find the differences between the two worlds?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I really enjoy both aspects. I mean, as you say, they're so different, really. Certainly a freedom in the kind of folk scene and improvisation. And I guess if you play a tune a few times, you don't need to play it the same twice, kind of thing. And yeah, I love that kind of on edge thing when you're playing live on stage and you're just trying to throw in little harmonies and wee ideas just off on the spot, just trying to get away with little improvisations and things like that. And sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't, but when they do, it's good. But yeah, on the other side of the coin, the kind of the strictness of the competition, I think it really pushes you on for your technique, your instrument as well. For Pibroch and Kjolnor and stuff, you really need to be on top of your instrument for playing a 20-minute tune or whatever, and it needs to be locked in the whole way. So I guess, and then back over to the other side of the coin again, in the folk scene, or generalizing a wee bit here, you don't really get much of an opportunity to tune your pipes on stage. You want to try and keep the concert flowing as best as you can. So you actually have to sort of look at your instrument totally different, and you have to set it up in a way that it's going to be there or thereabouts, especially when you're picking it up and putting it down in between sets and changing to whistles or flutes, or it really needs to kind of just
stay steady. Be there
the whole time. So it's, I mean, it's just, I think that's one of the main differences for me. It's looking at the way you approach the bagpipe, and obviously with Pibroch and stuff, you're wanting it to come up to plateau and stay there for a good 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So the differences are fascinating, really. Yeah,
they are. No doubt I could chat to you about the differences between the two worlds now, because you have great experience at both. And for those listening as well who aren't aware of who you are, you're also experienced at the band level as well. You also competed with Scottish Power as well under Chris Armstrong. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So when I first moved to Glasgow for university, I played with I joined the Scottish Power Pipe Band, and I mean, it was a huge learning curve because I'd never really played with a pipe band before. I'd sort of I'd always done the solo thing and that kind of thing, but I'd never really. There's a band in Stornoway who since they have been competing and stuff, but at the time it was just a parade band, and my tutor when I was younger was he was more focused on the solo thing, and I guess discouraged band playing a wee bit. So
yes,
I never kind of went down that route. So yeah, it was a huge learning curve, and I guess my first practice was a wee bit fearful. But yeah, I played with them for 2 years, 2 seasons, and I really enjoyed it. It was under Chris Armstrong, obviously, at the time, and learned loads from him as well. And just watching everything on how they set up a band and the sound and the tone. And I mean, it was all new to me. So to witness all that was just amazing.
yeah. And again, it's something you can also bring along to all of your other projects at the moment. I kind of want to get into Trish because I know that you've been playing with a kind of pipe band. It's not really a pipe band because you have no drummers. Tell me about Trish. How did this all start?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know what year it would have started, going back a few years again. But I guess it might have been devised over a few pints in the pub, I guess. A few guys kind of had the brainwave, and I suppose they wanted to set up something that was a wee bit different. It wasn't not a folk band and not a pipe band, and something in the middle,
in between, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the vision was to sort of play music that was a little bit different, and not just like a medley or a set of tunes or something, just something with a bit more arrangement and a bit more personal to all the individuals in the band. So
yeah.
I guess there was 10 pipers who all sort of played a wee bit on the folk scene and wrote some tunes. They were kind of invited to join this band, and yeah, I guess it took off from there. We got, I think I'm right in saying one of the first performances was at the Trad Awards.
Yeah,
a few years ago. So that was good fun, trying to get together a set for that. And then since then we've played a couple of gigs. We've played at Celtic Connections a few times, actually. We've played at Piping Live as well. So I guess everyone in the band as well is so busy with other projects and other bands and teaching work and things like that. So it's difficult to get everyone together for rehearsals and gigs, but when we do get together, it's really great. We were over at the Willie Kennedy Festival as well.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that too. So, well, if anything, this kind of brings me neatly into our first little clip. So, for those of you who aren't aware of Trish or any of James's music for that matter, I think we'll play a little clip of you guys at the Trad Awards, actually. I'm not sure if this is the first performance, because I know you've had a number of them now, but here's a little clip of Trish then. And, it's one of those sounds, James, that you just can't put your finger on, but it's something that's really unique to Trish and that whole kind of outfit, I suppose, that you guys just seem to meld so well together. Is that something that you actively work on, the harmony lines and all of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's most of the music. It's all quite thought out and arranged. I think some of the gigs we've been involved with have been collaborations with other bands and musicians and stuff. So
Yeah,
we've made a conscious decision as well, up until now anyway, to remain in concert pitch in B
yes,
flat. So I guess that's challenging as well, stability and things like that, and everyone's on different bags and
yeah.
reeds and all that kind of stuff. Uh, but yeah, the music itself, it's quite arranged and yeah, we've been involved in some interesting projects where we've the recent one last year's Piping Live. There was 4 composers selected from outside of the band who weren't actually pipers, so we persuaded them to write some music for pipers. So it was quite interesting to see what they came up with, and I guess as again that led to something slightly different ideas and harmonies and things like that. So it's I suppose we're trying to keep as open-minded as possible with and the kind of the ideas and what we play and stuff. So
I have to say, you guys at Trist have been so inspirational for so many other pipers out there to have more freedom with their music, if you know what I mean, rather than being locked into your MSR or your hornpipe and jig. This is something where no, we can look at big orchestrations here and listen to this. Sounds incredible. So, hey, I have to say, I'm a huge fan. Keep up the fantastic work. So, thank you.
oh, glad you like it.
Oh, it's superb. Now, there's a great reason why we have you on the show this week, James, and that's because in early December, you dropped a little announcement on it that we really weren't expecting, and that was it was the release of a brand new music collection, which really came out of nowhere for us. So, looking at your website here at jamesduncanmackenzie.com, which is where you can go and get this collection, can you tell us about this first of all? Where did this all come from?
Yeah, well, I guess I mean I've been trying to write tunes for many years now. I think the first tune I ever wrote was when I was maybe about 17.
Wow,
so
yeah.
yeah, it's just really stemmed from there. I've a lot of the tunes in the collection, they've been recorded on various albums and CDs and things like that, and there's certainly some new ones that haven't yet been recorded. So I guess the book it's really just a mixture of almost all the tunes I've kind of come up with over the last 15 or so years. And
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I really wanted to kind of put them into one place.
Big collection. Yeah, for everyone. I have to say that there's been many fans of your music, James, over the years, and some bands have even started playing your tunes as well, even at the top flight as well. So, can you tell me, what does it feel like when you hear someone else or even another band playing one of your tunes? Do you go, "That's one of mine"?
Yeah, definitely. I think, to be honest, that's maybe one of the reasons that sort of drives you on to try and come up with some new tunes. And yeah, I've been very fortunate with some of the bands and some of the folk bands and pipe bands that have played some of the tunes. I mean, Field Marshal picked up a couple of the tunes. So yeah,
Smelling Fresh, was it? I think it was they played.
Yeah, they played that one year in one of the kind of World Championship winning medley. So I was absolutely over the moon, and yeah, just delighted that a band like that would kind of pick up one of my tunes. And they actually played one of my other tunes I wrote for my grandfather, Willie Bucoch.
Oh, yes.
I think they played that one as well. And then Strathclyde Police have played a tune of mine. I think the Halifax, I forget, the 78th Halifax.
Oh, yes.
They played one of the tunes as well, Alex Gandy there. So yeah, I was just amazed at that. I guess the amazing thing is the journey that you can write the tune and you can play it or you can record it, but you've got absolutely no control over the journey it can take. And I guess that's been the amazing thing with some of the tunes, the journey they have taken and where they've reached up. And who's playing them, that kind of thing. It's that really helps to push me on to try and come up with some new tunes and stuff. So it's amazing to see.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's great to hear too. We were chatting to Fred Morrison on a show a while ago now, and we spoke to him about whenever he hears some of his tunes being played by bands, he says that the band seemed to play it better than he ever could because of the arrangements and stuff that bands put behind it, playing it with drive and harmonies and different reprises and stuff. So, do you find that yourself? Like even some of the arrangements of your tunes as they go out into the world, do they improve?
Definitely.
Or
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, that's one of the amazing things. They don't necessarily need to be the same way as I play them, and I think it's if people put their own stamp or style on it, even in terms of, I guess, the swing or the groove that they're playing it with, if they're doing their own thing with it and it's working, I think that's amazing. And it doesn't need to be the way I've done it. And yes, several different versions of a few of these tunes kicking around, which is great. So
yeah, that's it. So you're all for it then, having creative license really, and just have at it. Yeah,
definitely. Aye. As long as it's not too far.
Well, that's it. Yeah,
I'm not adaptable. Yeah.
Indeed. So, James, I have to say, this book, honestly, is a fantastic collection of tunes. I think it's 70 in total, all in one collection. So it is available on your website now. So go and purchase it. It's cheap at 3 times the price, honestly. There's some fantastic tunes in here. So as well as releasing the book, however, you're also you're dropping something else on us as well in the near future, your upcoming album. Do you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, definitely. Well, in many ways, the new album Fevic, it's related to the book. All the tunes on this new CD feature in the book already. Mm-hmm. So I guess both projects were projects I've sort of been working on over the last couple of years to try and stay busy throughout the kind of times we've been having and stuff. So yes. The album was one. I was very fortunate to get some Creative Scotland funding, and they were keen to fund projects that were sustaining creative development throughout the last while. So I was very fortunate to get some money from them behind it, and the idea basically was to record an album entirely from home. So I've kind of achieved that. I mean, I think the piano was the only thing on the album that was actually recorded in a studio. So
I see.
Again, that was for me, that was a steep learning curve. I've been in many great studios over the years and stuff, and usually the great engineers just do all the work for you and you just turn up and play. So to try and learn the other side of that was it was a huge learning curve, and just recorded all of it in the house here, and we've got amazing guest musicians who I kind of emailed the music out to, and they added their parts on it from their homes as well. So it was done in that kind of remote way. So it's I guess it's a different way of working, and it's kind of, it reflects on the last few years we've sort of had. So
indeed,
just completed it there I guess a week ago or so, and I released the pre-orders, and fingers crossed maybe in a week or two I'll have the hard copy CDs back to send out to folk and stuff. So
fantastic, because we are expecting a release then early February, I think it is.
We're thinking that 12th of February, fingers crossed, if all goes well, we'll get the CDs out by then. So
happy days. Well, I have to say, as soon as I heard the announcement about the pre-order, then I instantly went and pre-ordered it because I already knew it was going to be good. So I have to stress then, I want to get into your influences, James, because this album, you say it's been recorded strictly at home during times when we're in lockdowns and all that stuff. But your music does seem to have a very strong sense of place, where it's very much rooted as to where you're from. So do you want to tell folks, whereabouts are you from?
Yeah, I'm from the Isle of Lewis in the Western Isles, or the Hebrides. So it's the furthest northwest of the Hebrides.
Yes.
And it's the largest of the Hebridean Islands. So yeah, I was kind of brought up here, and yeah, just very recently in the last couple of years, I've moved back to the island. So it's been amazing to kind of get back here, and it's yeah, I guess a different pace of life, and yeah, but in terms of the influence of the place, yeah, I would say that that's through going back to my kind of one of my early tutors, Pat Majorie and Murdo Morrison. I guess I've been inspired by him over the years with his music, and he actually wrote some great tunes. And one of his tutors was Donald MacLeod, Pat Major Donald MacLeod. So
yeah,
he was another fellow who was originally from the Isle of Lewis. Another kind of legendary piper from Lewis would be the Peter MacLeod. So yes. Yeah, I mean between Donald MacLeod and Peter MacLeod, I mean the tunes they came out with are just amazing. I mean, you would struggle probably to hear a piping event without at least one of their tunes.
At the very least, yeah. Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
So I mean these guys were just geniuses, and yeah, I guess when I was growing up and learning, it was predominantly their music that I was learning and playing, and to many ways I'm still playing their tunes, and I always will. So yeah, I guess if there's any kind of element of their kind of influence on the way I do things, I mean that, yeah, even if it's a tiny wee element here or there, I'd be thrilled, kind of thing. But yeah, I guess I try to keep my composing or tune writing style fairly on the traditional end. I guess I don't like anything too
flash. Yeah,
I suppose. So yeah, I mean, there's still kind of modern influences definitely in there, because just with what I've been hearing kind of touring around, you hear other bands of other genres and things like that, and probably subconsciously you're taking ideas from everywhere, really. So but yeah, on the whole, it's fairly traditional. So
indeed, yeah, and that's the kind of I've been always wanting to ask you that question, because I've never been to the Isles, but I've always wanted to. And then whenever you listen to your music as a listener and a fan, it kind of does carry you there. You can almost hear the influences of the landscape and the people around you in your musical voice. So there's a little video clip actually that you'd sent us here, and we're going to get into this. Actually, it's called. Well, first of all, I'll let you introduce it then. The Island Where I Live. And do you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, well, this, although it's titled The Island Where I Live, this was a project I was involved with for the Isle of Canna. So, another island there, and it's also a Hebridean island, but it's further south, kind of inner Hebrides, I guess, and it's where my parents-in-law live. So there's actually, I think there's a population of 15 or 16 on the island. So it's a very small, very small island. So it's, I was involved in an amazing project there. There's a Canna house. It's an amazing big old house that going back years, the island was owned by John Lorne Campbell and Margaret Fay Shaw. So they were both two interesting characters, and they collected and compiled so much kind of Gaelic music and music from the Hebrides, and music history, photos, film, just everything. There's a vast archive there. So it was amazing to be involved in that project. So I kind of composed a little bit of music to go along with some of the film footage. So
yes,
the archive film footage is, I believe it's throughout all of the kind of Hebrides and Uist, and but yeah, it's really fascinating to see some of that footage just of a day gone by, and the way of life that they had going back a number of years. So it's amazing just to put all that together, and very fascinating projects.
Fantastic. Well, I think at this point, for those of you watching the video on YouTube right now, We're going to show you the video, but for you listening on the pod, you just get the audio. So you may go to YouTube and watch this. So without further ado, let's play the vid, shall we?
The island where I live is in the Hebrides. It's small in comparison with its neighbors, with their dark towering mountains. When you're sailing towards it, you'll see how very green it is. There are high cliffs to the north and south, but the rich grass grows to the very edges of them. There is nothing of the desolate brown moorland that you see in this part of the world.
Honestly, I must have watched that clip, James, like a half dozen times now. It's fascinating looking back through that old lens, seeing, just how much has changed, really, I suppose. But like I said, I'm connecting your music to that area and that kind of arc of time. You can definitely feel that sense of tradition and place in your music. So is that something that you really work at whenever you're composing something? You're thinking, nah, it's not really capturing what I want it to, or it's not flowing the way I want. Do you work at things like that?
Yeah, definitely. for projects like that as well, when you've got such amazing footage to pair it up with, that certainly informs the kind of style or way you're going to go about it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I try and keep it influenced and inspired by, certainly by landscape and people and island life and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely. But there's a lot that goes in the bin, you know, if it's not quite right, it just
hit the cutting room floor. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So again, I just wanted to mention again, upcoming album available for pre-order. You can go on your Bandcamp page. You can actually get this. So jamesduncanmackenzie.bandcamp.com, or just visit the website and you have links to everything there. Your books are all there, all of your albums, not just this new one. And I can't recommend this enough. If your previous first two albums are anything to go by, this third one's going to be absolutely blistering. I can't wait to hear it, James. So is there any particular track on this album so far that you could pick out as being a particular favorite?
Oh, I don't know, really. I mean, I've only kind of got the one that's available at the moment. So the one there that is available, I'm on Highland pipes and wooden flutes for that one, and I've got the amazing talents of John Lowry on piano and an amazing guitarist, Innes White. He's on guitars for that one. So that's a standout one. It's called Cat and Mouse. I believe that's available right now. You can actually go and get that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very excited for this upcoming album. In case you haven't got that impression, but I cannot wait for this. So very much looking forward to that. I can't recommend people enough to go and check out your website. This huge music collection that you just dropped on us out of the blue, like, whoa, what's this? This is brilliant. And then there's the new album as well. So it's a very exciting time, James. Can I ask you what you have happening in the near future then? What does 2022 hold for you? Well, that's a very good question. I guess just kind of taking over the way we've been taking over for the last wee while, and I'll be trying to promote the new album and the new book and stuff. So yeah, I guess when gigs are kind of gradually starting to come back now, so fingers crossed it can keep going that way, and maybe at some stage later in the year we'll maybe try and put together a wee tour of a few venues here or there, and try and get some of that music played out live. That would be
excellent
possible. So
yeah, indeed. And I hope to run into you at a future gig. Yeah, for sure. I'm so glad things are opening up again, and I can't wait to see you all back on stage again. Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
So I think there couldn't be a better way to finish this week's interview with, and again, another clip of Trish, but this is a clip from you guys at the Dry Gate. This was back, I think it was 2019, a part of Piping Live, isn't that right?
Yeah, that would be right. Yeah, definitely.
There you are. So that one heck of a gig, by the way. I've heard so much great feedback from that, and all we've been getting since is, when are they coming back? So have you any indication as when any more future Trish gigs coming up?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, there's nothing in the books at the moment, but yeah, as I was saying earlier on, it's because there's 10 of us and we're all busy with various things. It is quite challenging to get everyone together, but we're hoping next month, so February, we're hoping to get together and have a little weekend meet up of kind of rehearsing and putting a few new sets together and a few new ideas and stuff. So I guess we only do a handful of gigs a year anyway. So if we can fit in at least one or two gigs this year, that would be great, definitely. So
fantastic. Well, there you go. You've just ticked a big box for me. I can't wait for those. That's brilliant. So James, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week. I really appreciate it. And the best of luck for 2022, man. I can't wait to see us all back on stage again.
Oh, well, thanks very much for having me on the show, Rab. Thank you. Thanks very much.
No problem at all.